Hey there creators, Niamh here, and this is my last week of Inktober for 2018. So as I've said previously, I didn't do every day of Inktober, so this video is going to be 4 drawings, and they're all robot themed, and I'm really excited about that, and I'm really happy with how all of them turned out. So my inspiration this week was from 2 Inktobers ago. I did a robot drawing, and it was really fun and cute and creative, and I really loved it, and I got such a great response from it from other people in my life who really loved it. My husband really loved that drawing too. So I kind of wanted to go back to something like that and to do silly robot themed drawings. And so I had a lot of fun coming up with these. This first one is kind of a spoiled robot kid, or maybe a grown kid, I don't know. A spoiled robot kid playing video games and eating his nuts and bolts snacks, and he's being waited on by a family butler or something who's also a robot. And yeah, it was just a lot of fun and cute and silly. So the butler's coat, if you noticed, I used a lot of blue with that. So the idea was that I was going for more of a trying to say that it's black, like it's a black suit, but to show the different shades in a black suit, you kind of need a lot of blue. So it's not really a blue coat, though there is a lot of blue used in it, and that just kind of gives it the effect of a more realistic looking black outfit. I had him, his mobility is on a tire, so, which I thought was fun, and the bratty robot's drink there is pure oil. And and if you notice, I also put some yellow coloring on some of like on the butler robot, and on the pillows, and on the controller and the bratty robot. So the yellow highlights there are basically the bratty robot is, that's what I call a bratty robot. Whatever screen the bratty robot is using right now, the light reflection is what we see, the yellow there. And so for the butler's face, I went with kind of this green, almost matrixy looking computer screen look, with the grid and stuff. Almost like his facial features are, simulated on the screen. They're not actual units on the robot. It's hard to explain this. So for the background, I went with purple, just like shading in, and I was having trouble because a lot of my markers are run dry, so I get some of them and they don't do the job quite right. So I'm just using lots of different pinks and purples to kind of make that purple background. And that one was really fun. I really enjoyed it, and it's probably my favorite of all of these this week, this first one. But yeah, so there's my bratty robot with his butler. All right, so now we're moving on to the next day, and this one was kind of a robot bakery. So I got some inspiration from the previous page where I had the robot drinking a soft drink of pure oil and snacking on nuts and bolts, and or having those little energy bar things, like actual energy bars. And so I kind of wanted to continue with that food theme, so I kind of wanted to do a bakery with all sorts of silly robot themed foods. So we've got the robot chef here, or baker here, and his apron says, "Ask me about our oil shakes." And behind him, over in the corner there, is under the today's special sign is a shake making machine there. And so what's behind him on the other side is dough nuts. And basically they're just nuts, as in nuts and bolts. And yeah, so coming up with all these little silly foods was really fun. The bottom part there is the pet wrench treats, and they're basically just wrenches that I drew ribbons around. And the circuit cookies, circuit cookies are $3 each, and extra chips are $1. And I basically just made the cookies and the things in the pie, because the pie is called the motherboard pie, and I just made them look like circuit boards in there. And the pie has nuts going all around it. And then there's the cupcake, which is God, I can't remember what that was called. But it was something computer related. I'm sure I'll remember when I post the pictures at the end. And now I'm coloring the donuts. So this was just a lot of fun. All these silly little robot themed things. And I found that this style of animation is a style of animation that just really works for me. I really like to do a lot of art where I'm doing a lot in it. Like I'm doing a whole background. I'm doing like every nook and cranny of the paper is filled with an environment, and that's what I really like. I really like environments, and just kind of creating a scene. And when it comes to these robot things, I just really like it, the silliness, like a silly robot theme. So on this next day, I got a little silly as well, and I kind of had this idea because my son, I kind of asked me, how come there aren't any humans in this world, this robot world of yours? And, to me, this is like totally a robot world, but I thought, wouldn't it be funny if I kind of flipped the script on something where we might have a robot or like a drone in the sky, but instead of a robot, it's a human. And instead of like a drone, it's kind of like flying a kite, but a mix between flying a kite and flying a drone, except it's a human. So I came up with this idea of like this little kid robot who's flying her, flying human kit with remote control. That's what it says on the box. And her dad's there. It's just kind of like normal father-daughter bonding time, except the robots, And I said, I like to do the backgrounds. So I did a whole bunch of buildings off in the distance, kind of futuristic looking. And then I had the sun up there in the corner, and I figured this robot society would, they're smart, they would figure out a way to harness the power of the sun, and there would be all sorts of structures all around the sun. Now, of course, if this was really real, all that stuff that's around the sun there would be gigantic because we could see it from Earth. But, that's not get bogged down in the details. It was more just about the aesthetic of it and just the silly look and all that. So, and around the buildings, I had like some flying cars going around there, and the same thing around the sun. I have kind of a line, a circular line going around with little dots, and those were supposed to represent like spaceships flying around the sun. And and so I went with kind of a purple color for the human's outfit because I figured it would contrast well against the other colors that I'm using. I am using a lot of blues and greens, but they're kind of a different shade really, and these purples are a bit more on the red side, or they're a little more pink, so they stand out a little bit more. And then of course the yellow hair, it stands out well against that blue sky. So, and these ones, and with the next day too, I also sort of went with a similar look, same sort of robot here. And I have been outlining, once I'm completely done with all the coloring and the look. I'm using a Posca pen right now to add some highlights. But once I'm completely done with all of that, then I darken the focal point. And the focal point is the little girl and her father and their box of flying human kit. And I just outline everything so that our focus is on the foreground here. And I do the same thing on this this drawing with the DIY limb surgery. Another just silly sort of thing. So with this, I kind of had the same idea of something silly, like the robots, kind of a human thing, but robot world. And so then I thought of a hospital, and these are robots, so they're probably smart enough that they could repair themselves for the most part. Maybe they don't have all the object or all the things needed for that, so they have to go to the hospital, the robot hospital, and basically just buy a kit, a repair kit. And they all have their little stations where they repair their kit. The front robot here is repairing his arm, obviously, and there's a little robotic arm construction instruction manual in front of him, and all the bits and pieces and all that. And so behind him in the back, we have a robot who's repairing his leg, and coming into the robot surgery place is a robot who needs to repair his head. So he's got his head there and is carrying it in. And yeah, so that was a lot of fun. And the background there, I was kind of thinking about typical hospital colors, and I think of kind of a baby powder blue is used a lot in hospitals, like that very, very pastel blues and yellows. And so that's what I was going for. So, and I figured the checkered print, it kind of made me think a little bit of a bathroom, honestly. And in a hospital being so sterile sort of makes me think of that too, and it makes me think of like a bathroom, and so I also I wanted to go with different colors for these robots too. So we got a gold and a kind of a bronzy brown one there too. All right, so that is the end here. I hope you enjoyed this week, and I will have a video out going through each page of this month's Inktober, even though I didn't do all of it. But yeah, I think I did about 14 days, so about half. That's okay. Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and I really loved the robot week. I wish I could have kept up with it, but that's okay. Thanks for watching, guys. I will see you guys later creators. Bye.